Map Designer here again, and in this video I want to try to explain a few of the ways we bring sectional data to life. So it's all very well having the data and passing it into the database and presenting it in results on the website, but what do we actually do to make it usable and consumable for you, the end user, in the way that you become accustomed to at GG's, which is quickly and easily? Well, we've got two ways to do this. One of them is a figure which attempts to rate the level of inefficiency of a horse in a race. In other words, how much more it might have to give in slightly more optimal circumstances. And the other way is something that we call fast finishers, which is a comparison of a horse's finishing speed in a race, how quickly it did the last part of the race, compared with the race finishing speed, the leader, up to that point. So let's have a look at these two things in this video. The first horse that I want to reference, it relates to the upgrade figures, and it's a horse called Punch Bowl Flyer. Now, I wrote an article called Sectional Horses of Interest from Royal Ascot a couple of weeks ago, and Punch Bowl Flyer was one of the horses I flagged for a couple of reasons. First of all, if we look at the upgrade column, which you can see here, it's, if you're a GG's Gold subscriber, it's on the right hand side of any result, and you can see here quite clearly that the upgrade figures for the first 7 horses home was either 0 or 1. In other words, they ran pretty efficiently for that course and distance and going combination. But if we look at the 8th and 10th horses particularly, you can see that they had outlying upgrade figures of 8 compared to these 0s and 1s. So their performance was compromised to some degree, to some notable degree, arguably, by the way the race panned out and they were used in the race. Now, in the case of Punch Bowl Flyer, he actually was the first horse home from the high numbers. You can see that those drawn, the first 7 home were drawn 10, 9, 7, 8, 11, 12, 5, and they all went to the far side. On the near side, the stand side, Punch Bowl Flyer was clearly the first home, ahead of Lampang. So essentially, Punch Bowl Flyer, who had come into this race, he'd won his last 2. There's an argument to say that he won his race on the near side as well, so he was basically a winner without a penalty. That was the argument that I made here, and indeed he was left on this rating of 99 and went on to win his next race, which we can see here the other day, a couple of days ago, at 11-4, and he won it quite comfortably. That was a Class 2 10 grand handicap, so that was a good job, and obviously that was advertised to us by his upgrade figure. There's a bit more detail in this image here. We can see that this is from the Ascot run previously. We can see the orange blob implies that he ran quick early in the first furlong. In the second furlong he ran even to fast. In the middle section, from the 4 furlongs from home to the 2 furlongs from home, this green blob suggests that he was even paced, and then the blue, the cold, suggests slow, and the dark blue even slower. So he used his petrol too early here. Still did enough to win on the near side and put this disappointment behind him next time, as his upgrade figure suggested he might be able to do. Another race that I want to look at, where there's a situation which gives an example of a horse that was badly compromised, easy for me to say, by the run of the race, was this 5 furlong novice event at Wolverhampton. This was on, not sure what date this was on, but if we look at the upgrade column again on the right hand side over here, we can see that it's 2, 1, 4, 4, 0, 0, and these 2 massive outliers here. Now, slightly closer inspection, if I just put the the running lines on, I think, and the comments. Right. So if we look at Boson, we can see that he disputed the lead, and you can see that he was second here within 3/4 of the lead, second within half a length of the lead, and next second at the 2 pole, third, and then just kind of faded at the end. And likewise for Sidcott Swallet, easy for me to say. He was the other disputant of the lead, and obviously he's got the reciprocal figures with Boson, and he or she faded even more markedly in the final furlong. Both of these horses might be capable of better. They were 11-2 and 13-2 respectively, and if the fact that they contested the lead is the reason that they went too hard early and they faded late. Given a better opportunity to use their energy more efficiently, in other words, if they can get an easy lead, either or both of these will have a chance to go close in the near future. Now we can see here Sidcott Swallet has actually run once since, no good. Race midfield here, interestingly, and I think his route to the future is definitely if he can lead without any contention for that lead. So I'll probably give him another try. He'll likely be a price now as well, perhaps in nurseries. And Boson the same, definitely worth a second glance. But it's these upgrade figures contextualized by understanding why they got that big upgrade, in this case because of a disputed lead. So that's something else to look out for. Now, one other thing to be aware of is a well-beaten outsider with a big upgrade figure. And there's one in this opening race, which is a mile 6 amateur riders race. And we can see here the 9th horse, Jurist, was a 66-1 shot this day and got a 12 upgrade, which ostensibly marks the horse out as having a good bit more to give. But if we look at the distance beaten, he was beaten, 5, 16, 18 3/4, 19, 23. He's beaten 26 lengths. So, you've got to be quite forgiving to think that on another day he might have won this race. So these, when you see a big upgrade figure for a horse that was a huge price and was beaten, always up, definitely be wary of that, because those can be a little bit misleading. I think that's probably all I want to say on upgrade figures. You'll find them in the results for all of the at the races tracks, or Sky Sports Racing as they are now. So this is Wolverhampton as an example. You find these figures for all of these courses. The other way that we make sectional data more consumable is via something called fast finishers. Now, what a fast finisher is a horse, as the name suggests, really, a horse that has completed the final part of a race, the last section of a race, much more quickly than the overall race time. So if we use this image as an example, this is from yesterday's Fast Finishers report, which we produce a daily report on this for gold subscribers. We can see that I've sorted these by sectional upgrade. There were no big sectional upgrades yesterday. And I always set the report to show me only performances from that are within 3 runs of today's effort. So you can see these are 1, 2 and 3 here, and you might see some zeros here as well. So in this case, these were the horses that displayed. Now, Star of Valor went on to win his race at 3-1. Some Nightmare won his race at 5-1, which is obviously a very convenient example. But more importantly, I think what I want to highlight here is the finishing speed difference. This 6.72 and 4.1. So the race finishing speed for the race in question here, which actually was at Wolverhampton, where Star Valor finished third, the race was fast early and slowed up late. That's what this race tempo tells us. And the finishing speed for the race was 98.52%, so slightly slower than the race as a whole for the last section. This guy, Star of Valor, finished in 105%, so much quicker than the race as a whole, and was able to use a similar closing gear change to get the job done here at 3-1, which is a nice enough price. Likewise with Some Nightmare, where the race was, you don't often see this actually, fairly steady earlier, then quick in the middle, and then evening off at the end. The race finishing speed was 99%, and the horse finishing speed was 103%. So much quicker. I mean, we flag all horses with a finishing speed differential of 2.5% or more. These 4 and nearly 7% finishing speeds are quite significant. That's a big finishing speed difference in percentage terms. And yeah, of course these two horses won, which is great. So that's something else to look out for. We publish a report which can be found from the reports tab, just about here, fast finishers. And here's today's. You can see that I have I've got my settings here with any to 3, and we can see that the fastest finish was Good actually, from the race, one of the races that we were just looking at, this one. So that's quite coincidental. Not much in the sectional upgrade column there, but that was interesting. I'm often interested in the biggest sectional upgrades as well. So Regulator and Plancina, who are both in the same race later this evening, are of a little bit of interest as well. So this fast finishers report is well worth checking out. In the blog post, I've articulated how the finishing speed difference is calculated. This column here, and rather than labour it again, you can pause this video if you want to look at that. But basically, it's not finishing speed minus. It's not horse finishing speed minus race finishing speed. It's horse finishing speed divided by race finishing speed. So don't get hung up on it. But if you were looking at the numbers and thinking this sum doesn't add up, that's why. Now, what we do on this report, we publish those fast finishers with a finishing speed percentage differential of 2.5% or more. But you might be interested in something different, a bespoke fast finisher. So if that's the case, you need to do a couple of things. In actual fact, for anything related to the sectional data, the first thing you've got to do is go to your My GG's page, and you've got to go to your race card options, and you've got to turn sectionals on. The default is none. And so if you're wondering why you can't see any of this sectional data, that's why. We've got a data and a visual view. They both have the finishing speed percentage on them. Visual is a bit less numbery, a bit easier to consume maybe. Data is the one that I prefer. I will actually put it on visual for this. The data's just got a few more bits of information in it. And then you can choose the number of sections. So remember, sectionals relate to the time spent in various chunks within a race. And these OMC and call points are, they basically break the race up into, call points is 5 sections, 5 chunks, as close to fifths as we can get them generally. And OMC is 3 sections, opening, middle and closing, 3 chunks, and typically as close to thirds as we can get them. So that's what these numbers mean. I'll just quickly update that because I put it on the visual, and then we can look at how we can work out some bespoke sectional finishing speed upgrades. So let's just use this race, seeing as we're on it. What I want to do is I'm going to put it on the OMC view. just so I've got a few less of these blobs. So that's easier. And you can see in this race, which is a 14 furlong race, we've got S to 10, which is basically 4 furlongs, then 10 to 4, which is 6, and 4 to 0, which is obviously 4. So we've gone 4-6-4 here. We could have gone 5-5-4, I guess. Anyway, that's by the by. The next thing I want to do is I want to put the sectionals. I want to click the sectionals button, and that's so these coloured blobs at the top are the race sectionals. So these data relate to the leader at the 10 furlong pole for S to 10, the 4 furlong pole for 10 to 4, and the finish line for 4 to 0. So where the leader was at the 4 pole compared to the finish line, where they were at the 10 pole compared to the 4, and the start compared to the 10. So these are the individual runner sectionals. So these relate specifically. This row here relates specifically to Yargood. This one specifically to Row Beam, and so on. The other thing I'm going to put on is I think I'm going to put the running lines on, and I'm going to put the comments on as well. And actually, this is not the race I want to look at. The race I want to look at is the 850. So if you set those things up, it will reflect them in any other race that you open up. So this is the 850, and this was an interesting. I'll just take these off for a second because I want to show you in the upgrade column on the right hand side what a quirky race it is. It's quite rare that you would see this sort of up and down disparate distribution of upgrade figures, but in actual fact there is a very obvious reason for this, and that is that this race was fairly steadily run early, and a few of the horses got caught out of their ground. So if you look at the finishing distances, you've actually got, what have we got, 2 1/4, 2 1/2, 3. You've got about 5 lengths between first and 12th. So it's a blanket finish really. And what you have is you've got horses hanging on at the front, a few of them just fading a little bit in the final furlong, and a whole bunch of them finishing too late. And that's really brought home in the sectionals and in the running lines. In the sectionals first, if we compare these closing blocks with the race closing sectional, which is the finishing speed percentage was 103.3, we can see there's 106.5 for the second here. There's 105.5, there's 106, there's 107 down here, and these fast finishes are reflected in the upgrade figures over here. Now, if you remember Punch Bowl Flyer, he finished really slowly, having gone quite fast early, and he also got a big upgrade figure. So you can use your energy inefficiently in different kinds of ways. You can go slow then fast, or fast then slow, or maybe occasionally slow fast slow. So that's something to keep in mind with the upgrade figures. But getting back to these fast finishes and the bespoke ones, all we're doing here is we're comparing the closing runner sectional percentages, which are these numbers in the coloured blocks on the right hand side, with the race sectional, which is the top right coloured block. And in this case, each of Parikama particularly actually, and a couple of these others, maybe Reclaim Victory as well, who despite finishing 7th was only beaten kind of 2.5 lengths. And if we put we get rid of the sectionals for a second and put the running lines on. Now ignore all this in the middle for now. I just want to focus on this bit on the left hand side, these 5 bold figures and the superscript numbers next to them. If I just put this on cool points a second, that's quite helpful. Although you've got it in line, it's quite helpful to understand what these numbers relate. So let's use the winner. In fact, no, let's use the winner first. So Azets, we can see at the first cool point was second, a length behind the leader. And the first call point is the 6 furlong pole. See this S to 6 here, and also here we've got some times here as well. So at the 6 furlong pole in this 1 mile half a furlong race, Azet's was a length second, in second place, a length behind the leader. At the 4 pole, 4 furlongs from home, second, 3/4 of a length behind the leader. At the 3 pole, third, 1.5 behind the leader. At the 2 pole, second, a length behind the leader. And at the finish, first, 1 by a short head. And 1 by a short head from Parikama. Now compare the proximity to the leader through the race of Azet's, who was always kind of within a length or a length and a half of the lead, and compare that with Parikama, who at the 3rd call point, which is this one, at the 3 furlong from home point, Parikama was 7 lengths off the lead in 8th place. She did a lot of running late, and International Law was another one favoured by being up close. Ruby Gates actually is one worth pointing out, because Ruby Gates led. Ruby Gates had the total run of the race and faded into 6th in the end. As you can see, he or she was a 40-1 shot, so almost nicked it, but in the end just got run out of it. So this is, I'm always looking for this kind of thing where a horse has just kind of been given a little bit too much to do, and that's reflected in the finishing speed percentages here. So 103.3, 106.5, that's 3.2% difference, just doing the sum there. I'm just going to do it on my calculator, actually do it properly. 106.5 divided by 103.3 was a 3.1% upgrade. So that horse actually would appear on our fast finishers. Castle Quarter, who was the favourite and also a little bit inconvenienced by the run, was 2.2 back, and that would probably work out at about 2% finishing speed percentage differential. So that this horse would not show up in our fast finishers report. Does that mean we shouldn't mark up this run? No, it doesn't. It just means we've got an arbitrary cut-off on the report, and some horses who have performed with more merit than perhaps meets the eye won't appear on that report. So it's always worth doing your own a little bit of your own legwork. Castle Quarter would be another one of interest. Rissalat likewise, and Reclaim Victory, as we've discussed. So this data's in the results, and although it might ostensibly seem like quite a lot of effort to do this, in actual fact it really isn't. I mean, if you put the sectionals on, and then you can just, this is an outlier of a race in that there are a number of horses that can potentially be marked up on their effort. If we go through the rest of the card, you'll see that there's nothing really of note here. Again, we've got these bigger numbers for horses beaten far enough and who were big enough prices, so they can be, I mean, I'd probably look very quickly at them, but I'm happy enough to discard them for the purposes of this video. The winner here can be marked up a little bit, but nothing of great note. Nothing really here. Maybe Rocket Man is worth a second look. Looks like went too hard early, and we can see in the sectionals was close up. I mean, probably just a little bit disappointing, really. So again, there's nothing really that I'd be taking away from that one. These two obviously advertised themselves, and we discussed them earlier. They took each other on for the lead and paid for it late, and we can see that with the red blocks here, and the blue blocks here. So those are those, and nothing really there. Might look at this Firkham Hall, careful how you say that, who was favourite here and wasn't beaten far. Again, may have gone a bit too quick early, may have been a contested lead. 3/4 of a length lead. Probably just didn't see it out. So that's another one. And then in the 550, there's not really anything there of great note. Perhaps have a second glance at a fare. So you can see that's a 3/6. That's a 7-race card, and in 5 minutes you could probably do a pretty comprehensive job of finding any horses that you were interested in. So it doesn't take a long time to do this, and importantly, there are lots of noteworthy fast finishers that we don't highlight on the fast finishers report, and so a little bit of your own legwork can pay dividends in that regard. So those are what we call bespoke fast finishers. And that's really all I want to say in this video. The upgrade figures and the fast finishers report, or any work that you do yourself with fast finishers, I really do believe that will pay dividends for you if you take the time to do it, and it will definitely increase your understanding of sectional data and how it works, why it's important, and what to look out for. So I'd really encourage you, if you're a gold subscriber, to play around with this a little bit and try and pick out a few horses for yourself. You don't have to bet them straight away. Get your feet under the table first. Pick out horses that you think are meritorious, add them to your tracker, make a note about why you've added them, so that you can compare the way the race was run from the race that you've noted with the projected pace in today's race and the actual pace after the race. So we're looking to try and predict the future with this stuff, and of course predicting the future is a fraught business at the best of times. So how a race looks like it might be run pace wise is not always the way that it actually is run. So, and we have to wear that over time. If we're smart about it, it'll come out in our favour, but we'll get plenty of them wrong as well. So that's not a drama. Okay, that's enough. I think I hope that's interesting, and I really do encourage you to engage with this information, particularly now we've made it more consumable via the upgrade figures and the fast finishers report. And yeah, go and back some good winners. All right, Matt Bisogno saying thank you for listening, and goodbye for now.